hello and welcome each and everyone to our monthly Living in the Flow show. Tanya and we are happy to be here as hosts. And it's incredible how quickly the months are going. It feels like we've just been doing this. And now here again, it's a month later. It's just the whole year has just been incredible. I've got all my timelines confused. The time is sometimes so fast, sometimes so short, but I'm glad that here we are again. And over to you, dear Tanya.
Oh, yes, it's been like I would say it's in between. It's been a long time that we've been doing this, and on the other hand, it's like it started today. It's this kind of diffuse timeline that we can't really define, and that happens to me in everything in my life, and it makes it so much simpler because there's really no attachment to a specific thing. And so I'm so grateful because though it seems like it's starting today, the fact that it started 10 episodes ago means that our flow has just been growing and growing and growing. And each time we do this, it becomes more perfect, which is the theme for today, perfection. And why? What the hell is that, really?
And also
So
before,
I'm
oh,
super
sorry.
thankful.
Yes.
Please go ahead.
And also, before we go into everything, because I know we always forget, we want to thank each participant. We want to thank each one that always donates and sometimes donates whatever you can. It's very, very appreciated. And also, we would like to each invite of each one of you to check out both of our websites. We've got loads of things going on, always something new. I've got next month coming up, Lightness of Being with Michael. That's going to be a 2-hour masterclass. In April, also another 3 months journey, Magi Live Here with Michael. So that's like a really incredible journey. We've got a beautiful group going on at the moment. And so another one is coming up. So if you want to check out, you can do a three-part payment. You can pay each month as you go if that's what you want to do. And there's private sessions, there's all sorts of things all the time. There are more and more inspirations happening. So I keep feeling to produce more videos, to produce articles and all sorts of things, photographs, art. It's just this whole living with the creativity that never ever stops. And so I would like to invite you, yes, please do check out all of those things that we do offer and join some of those things.
And please don't forget that we are having the New Energy Waltz next Saturday, which we usually book 1 week after the Living in the Flow. We have reduced also the price. It's now 66 euros. And the New Energy Waltz is simply a continuity of this flow that we have during this session, but more personalized. So we take on up to 11 people in a private group. It is not broadcast live. And there we can be more intimate, more precise within also what each one has to share, because there's so much wisdom shared from a larger, broader amount of people, of participants. So we're having that next week. And other than that, just like Alexis was saying, the creativity just keeps on rolling. It's a very natural thing. It's not something that we have to predefine. And at the moment I have the enlightening showers of presence going on, and it has been such a discovery. It's not the first time, but the thing is, each time is like it's the first, and it is enhanced, just like our living in the flow experience. Everything that is that's coming from our heart, that's beckoning to happen, to exist, and as long as it's still beckoning to exist, as there is still a flow of passion with it, it just gets better and better and better. And so there can be no sort of end line to what better means. Bringing everyone back to the theme of perfection, there is it just never ends, the better thing. I have no idea what that means really, because each time it's not only new, it's enhanced. So there is no end line that says, okay, now it's perfect, because it's perfect all the time.
That's right. And perfection is just such a perfect title for this time, you know, for at this time, because we are, each one of us are going into the depth of our being, the depth of experience, and we're having to really fall back on our own inner resources, because with all of the things that are happening in the world, it is so intense that we are constantly asked to keep coming back to self, to keep coming back to self. And so the clarity about all of these things is really important. And yes, it is us, Michael. And we too join this dance, and we are always happy to be present with each one of you when in this way. And we are more and more present as a soul in this physical reality. And we are more and more understanding our own humanness, because before there was a separation, and now it no longer needs to be. It just depends on each one of you as to how much of your soul you're willing to allow to bring. And even though it doesn't always feel safe, because it feels like these fine energies that you're feeling from your soul, from your heart, are too fine for this rude world, for this sometimes tough world, for the world full of suffering and full of pain. And yet this world is asking of each one of you now, even more than ever before, allow, be all who you are, allow this incredible presence of your own soul to be, for the world needs your presence, the world needs your radiance, and the world needs consciousness, because consciousness is what brings this incredible clarity into this world. And it also has to do with this, for example, the perfection, because you have your mind, which will mimic, and it does mimic so well, what it can feel from the soul. For remember, the mind is part of the whole, even though it believes itself in separation. So it will mimic every condition, and so it mimics perfection. So from the point of the mind, this perfection is something that you never are, is something that is perhaps someday in the future. Perhaps it is something you need to continually strive for. There is perfection in someone else. There is perfection in stars, in the media personality, but no, not ever you. So this is the perfection that the mind kind of keeps telling you to keep trying to discipline you, to push you harder and harder into working harder, and yet never achieving perfection. And then, of course, there is a subtle, incredibly subtle difference, and yet a whole lot of difference from the same word that you can say, perfection. But when you mean it from your wholeness, from your soul, from your self-love, it means something completely different to what which Tanya has already described, this incredible perfection of being in this now moment of who you already are. This all is well in all of your world, in all of your life, in the whole creation. This is perfection. It already is perfect, and it is continually expanding into more and more perfection. But it wasn't any less perfect 5 minutes ago, because it was 100% perfect then. Is nothing to strive for. There's only something to look for the excitement, for the living, for the life, for the experience, not because you want to become something that you're not, something more perfect, because that perfect, which the mind says doesn't exist, it's an empty hot air balloon that has no substance. And yet the real perfection of this now moment of you, who you already are in this now moment, already exists. It always exists, and it's always available. It just asks of you to be uncompromising, to step into it, to allow yourself to feel yourself perfect just as you are, perfect regardless of what you wake up, what kind of hair you wake up in the morning, whatever you look like, whatever age you are, it matters not. You are absolutely perfect. And when you grasp that, when you feel that, when you own that, that's when the real changes for you happens. And not that you're doing this so you can change, because you already are perfect as you are. You are allowing this to feel yourself whole, to feel the incredible perfection of your being, to feel the incredible perfection of your soul, to feel the perspective of how the soul looks at you, the human part of itself. It looks at you with beauty, with acceptance. It looks at you with open arms. It is always open. It is always giving. It is always gifting. Are you, the human, open to allowing, even regardless of what is going on in the world, regardless of what other people are choosing? Are you allowing yourself to, to feel, to own, to be perfection that you already are? Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. That was so beautiful and true and simple, but beyond that, the energy that these words, this consciousness that has now been brought forth by Michael, this consciousness that is now, I invite everyone to just sense it, to just be still for a while and sense this from what has been shared right now, way beyond the words, so that each one can realize what that means. Because it doesn't mean something that the mind will ever be able to grasp, but it does mean something that the heart has always known. The heart has always known this that has been shared right now. We all know it. Though, in the initial phase, when we start realizing, oh, I have a soul, oh, I'm a divine being, and then sensing that divinity and finding, oh, whoa, this is big. Oh my God, this is big, big and powerful and light and oh, beautiful. Oh my God, can I be that? No way. But of course, I mean that is so how can I live up to that? And so the human starts striving towards becoming worthy of him or herself, which is the soul, the divinity of ourselves. Because as we have shared repeatedly, we are just a facet, the human facet of the I am that chose to come and experience this physical reality. But we start looking at that sort of, oh my God, this is awesome. I love feeling this. Oh, but I'm not prepared. I'm not good enough yet. I mean, okay, so let me go and do 50,000 more courses and read I don't know how many thousands more pages where I can learn how to be good enough in order to be worthy of this. Oh my God, this is so big. How can it be? I mean, how can this big thing fit in me? I mean, I'm so small. This body is so confined. It's not possible. And so this goes on and on and on in our first stages of coming in touch with essence, and creates this continuous separation, but not because now we don't know that soul exists, but because we feel, nah, I'm so guilty and so ashamed, and there's so much stuff I still need to perfect in order to be able to assume that. Now, how can I go ahead and openly tell everyone, I'm a divine human and I am the expression of my soul? I mean, I can't go ahead and say that in public because for that to be true, I'd have to be, and then we've got all of these set belief systems and rules that we've created, and that if we can't have the checklist ticked on all of the items, we're still not there. And this is just a game we create with ourselves to keep the separation in place, this game of perfection. And then, funnily enough, when a moment comes and all of these walls crumble and collapse, and then we find ourselves feeling that perfect bliss, that peace, that, oh my God, this is it. There's nothing else. It's just this. And still, there is, geez, but how can it be so simple? I mean, nothing else I need to do to continue being this, to remain in this immense peace that I feel right now. Okay, so let me just dump a bunch more of my prior belief systems in the recycling bin of the energy that serves me, so that that no longer stays stuck, and let's just go ahead and experience this. And one thing that happens when that shift into, yeah, okay, this is it, that's it, there's nothing else, when that shift happens, is incredibly simple, and it is, you are no longer bound to failure. What does that mean? It means that you feel so loved, so cared for, so compassionately perfect and complete, that the whole notion of failure disappears. And then you realize what it really means to experience. Then you realize, oh, okay, I'm experiencing this. And you don't experience it from a standpoint of, oh, wait a minute, this isn't correct, I have to fix it, I have to whatever. No, you experience it and you feel, you feel how it is for you. And if it's bringing in more of that peace, of that compassion, of that oneness, of that staying, then you go on, and you explore more of that. And if it doesn't, it just hurts so much. It's really physically painful, like pricks stabbing in your heart. I feel it like that. If it's not, you have no choice but to let it go, because you just can't physically sustain anything that is beyond this oneness, this presence that you realize you are, and you've always been, even when you thought you weren't. So, just to say that if anyone listening could already start discarding the need to be attached to the sense of failure, and realize that, okay, so if I let go of that one, which is a big one, maybe I'll make my life easier. And then the flow will become much more sustainable. And so this shift into, oh, this is it. This is it, nothing else. It happens. This shift happens. Then it will be so much simpler, so much more natural. It's a natural thing. It's not something you need to work at. It's just a natural thing as you discard that which is effort, that which is suffering, that which no longer serves this, and you choose and keep on choosing. No. This is what I am, and this is what I choose to be, to continue experiencing. So letting go of failure does not require any specific state of consciousness. It rather just requires the willingness to choose that. If you can choose that about yourself, release the need to sense yourself as a failure in any kind of area in your life. Just let go of that burden. That is already perfection in itself.
And it makes everything so much easier. And there's so many different ways that you can do these. Like I was very, very attached to success, because I was so attached to like, okay, so if I'm making something of myself, then I'm worthy. Otherwise, I'm not worthy of anything. I'm nobody otherwise. And so I didn't even know there was this huge fear of failure and fear of being a loser, what they call a loser. And the society pushes that it is such a bad thing to be a loser. So that is really huge. So I found that as I'm traveling with, as human and soul disintegration, firstly, I would suggest to everyone, just take your time, enjoy that honeymoon period. It is the most incredible experience, really. And also write down in your diary, because you have interesting times a few years later reading about it, so you can remember. But back to this fear of failure, it is huge, and it is especially huge for men. That's what men are supposed to just identify with, a success, someone who made it. And so there are so many men that find it extremely difficult to even recognize or to admit that, because they don't know themselves. There is nothing outside of that kind of box. So for me, what happened is like, when you're traveling with your soul, you kind of get insights with this, whether it is because you read something or you listen to someone. But also I found that I continually got some kind of inspiration and knowingness as I went, and I would just know what to do, because a lot of the things that we're doing, there is nowhere to read. You can't read it anywhere. So you kind of have to just experiment and trust yourself enough to experiment. So for a while I got this idea to go out, and walk in the streets, feeling myself and accepting and owning that I'm a complete failure, that I'm a complete loser, and that I'm homeless. Everything that I was afraid, and I allowed those feelings to really be me. So it's not that I didn't dress up, but for someone who can have fun with that, you can have fun with that. But I would just walk in and allow these most biggest fears of mine. And I thought, wow, what if I feel this? So what if I was a complete loser and a failure? And as I allowed it to wash through me, I realized, wow, if it was just a feeling, I lost all the fear about it. And that's how it means to integrate the other side, because duality, separation, is all about this duality. So if you're playing on one side, then you put the other side into your shadow self, which meaning the unconscious part. So if you're, let's say, very strongly into success and all of that, and you're the perhaps role of a successful person in your family, and perhaps your sibling is the black sheep, or someone that is playing that role of the unsuccessful person, then they carry that part of your shadow on your behalf. You carry their successful part, and they carry your unsuccessful part, because the wholeness means that you collect all the parts that you didn't accept. And in some areas, that means that you don't accept the negative parts, and in some areas, and for some people, you don't accept the good parts, that you can be successful, but not in an unintegrated way. Because when you are integrated, you are really successful in a different way, but you are always successful, because like Tanya said, you never fail, because mistakes, and it just becomes like a playful thing. You just go, oh, look at that, I made a mistake. Or when all of these huge things happen, you just move on really, really quickly. And on to another point also that I wanted to make, when Tanya was describing, it is when when you realize how huge this is, when you can start feeling your soul, when you can realize that you are your soul. For me, I was luckily somewhere in the middle of nowhere in the bush with trees and animals, and I was just going, what the fuck, what the fuck. I think I was like for half an hour or maybe an hour just walking, and every few minutes I would stop and start, what the fuck, what the fuck? Because it was just this huge, oh my gosh, it was so huge. And as you do have this insight, if someone was videoing me, it would just be so funny because it's like, oh, what the fuck? Oh, shit. Oh, shit. Oh, when you're realizing these things, it is
Yeah.
just so incredibly overwhelming. And then another thing is like talking about that, this perfection, for example, this goes on with everything. The mind really mimics, like, for example, it will mimic a certain thing and put it into a control. Like it will make a perfection, but there is a real thing when you feel not in control, but when you feel so masterly that there is nothing that can hurt you. You see, so but mind is trying to mimic that feeling by trying to control everything, but it never really works because it is not designed to do that, and it is very small. So the big thing is that, how you have this mimic reality, and then you have the reality of the soul. How do you know? When you, perhaps for me, it was the first time that I really felt myself out of the mind. It was actually in one of the really vivid dreams I had. So there are all these different ways that you have your first real experience going from the mind, because a lot of the people go, how do I feel my soul? How do I feel my soul? And it's a very frustrating place to be for a while, because you're almost there where the bubble bursts. You're almost there when the flower just opens, and yet it's frustrating because you're almost there, but you just can't grasp it until then one day it just happens, and all of a sudden you experience it. And the interesting thing with this kind of experience is that you know exactly what it is. Like once you start working with the soul, there is no doubt about the experiences that you're having. When you have experience, when you feel your soul, when you step out of your mind, you know exactly what that was. You see, so even it can happen in a dream, it can happen in all sorts of creative different ways. But whenever you have all these kind of soul experiences for anything, you go, aha, so that's what that is. Aha, so that's what that is. Because with experience comes also this inner knowingness. So you become like a real expert on all of the inner processes that are happening. You become your own self expert. And so how do you know when you're caught within the mass consciousness, when you're caught within this small box of the mind, or when you are in the embrace of your soul, embrace of your heart? Because you feel safe. Like when you're in your mind, you feel all of a sudden fearful, you feel anxiety, you feel worry, you feel constricted, you feel like, how am I going to get out of this? How am I going to do this? How am I going to do that? And then it's like this whole world changes, your inner world, and all of a sudden you feel expanding. You feel like everything's okay. You feel loved. You feel, wow, I can do anything. Anything can happen. So it just keeps expanding. And that's how you know that you are in your soul, in the wholeness of your soul, or whether you are caught in your mind. So what, like when you're not sure, come back into your breath and feel, how am I feeling? Am I feeling the worry? Am I feeling the concerns? Because when you are in your soul, there are no concerns. It's just this continual expansion, continual playfulness, continual acceptance of yourself. And this is that perfection. You are in perfection. You don't need to do anything. And yet at the same time, you have energy to do everything, you see, but you do it for the joy, for the experience, not because you're wanting to do, perfection. You care, you learn to care for yourself, because a lot of the people, especially if they had difficult childhoods and everything, they don't know how to care for themselves. And then you start to care for yourself. You every day you do things that are caring, that are loving, but you do it not for the self-perfection, but you do it out of self-love, out of love for body, out of honor for yourself. So it's a very, very different kind of place that you are living out from. And that's how you can mainly tell. So always come back to self and feel, how am I feeling? Am I in the fear? And if you are in that fear, then just allow yourself to relax and then ask your soul self. Okay, dear soul self, I would like to feel you now, and then learn what it's like to really allow, to really open, to really surrender, and to start developing your inner feelers so you can feel, so you can understand, so you can hear your soul self. Because this is the main thing, really, that, a lot of people, they talk about it and they read about it and they do all sorts of things, but there isn't anybody else that can do this instead of you. You have to actually do it. You have to experience it. You have to become your own expert on this. You have to become your own person that is intimate with your soul, that plays and dances with that part of you which is timeless, which is outside of time, which lives, which is forever. You need to be able to feel that. And yes, it is overwhelming, and then go somewhere and scream to the top of your lungs, what the fuck, or whatever you want to scream. Go and dance in some loud music place, and scream out of this joy of craziness, because your soul is not quiet. It is incredibly quiet and still and peaceful, but it is incredibly dynamic and alive. So, do allow, be audacious, go out and do whatever you want to do, these crazy things, live. Especially now when there's so much darkness coming out. Over to you, dear Tanya.
Exactly, so much darkness coming out, and that was precisely where I was going to grab the continuity of this flow. It is only when we are capable of dwelling within the darkness and remaining the presence that we are, that we can really expand that new reality of living in that wholeness, in that oneness. But from my experience on my journey, that facing the fear was always the fundamental turning point, and there were many thresholds of facing the fear. And so whenever, like, one of those big fears came up, at some point I realized, oh, okay, this is where I stay still, this is where I don't run, this is where I really face it. And so, actually, it's interesting because at the time I had the same experience in the outside world. I was in a very challenging relationship that I felt was supposed to end, and so I was faced precisely with the exact same thing. So on the outside, there was this huge anger and destructive energy wanting to come at me, and then this peace would wash over me, and I would just look in the eye. I would just look in the eye of the other person and just stay there and not have to argue, not have to say absolutely anything. But I felt so safe, so absolutely safe, and this person was threatening to kill me, to burn me, to all sorts of stuff. And I was just, that peace was so overpowering that I couldn't be or do anything else. And at the time, I was going through still a lot of integration, a lot of aspects, a lot of lifetimes coming back home, really huge, massive transformation. But in those crucial moments, as I looked in the eye, the only thing was not flinching, looking in the eye, and I really didn't feel fear in those moments. And what happened? The person went away, turned his back. It just ended all the time, and this happened over and over again. And I realized, that's how I realized, oh, okay, that's exactly what I need to do when these big fears show up inside of me. Because of course I had the same fears that Alexis was talking about, the fear of not having enough, the fear of being homeless, the fear of, at the time I had a huge debt. So that was a huge fear. How am I gonna get over that? What am I gonna do? And the fear of getting ill, seriously ill, um, the normal fears that we all have as a human collective within the mass consciousness. And so that's what I started doing when that big one came. Then I would, oh, okay, great, now this is my chance. So as soon as I started not trying to turn away or getting small so that the fear seemed big, no, I just chose to face it, look it in the eye, and not have to fix it, not have to um, even eliminate it, not have to convince it of something else that it isn't, because it can't be done. Fear only has one purpose, and that is fear. It just can't be convinced that it is not fear. So there's no way. Okay, it's useless.
Would
And
be
so
nice. It would be nice if we
yeah, it
could.
would, wouldn't it? Like if we could negotiate, like people learn to do when they're in the police force and they have to negotiate with someone that's about to commit suicide or that's got hostages or stuff like that. Well, yeah, no way. With those ones inside, it's the real deal. There's no negotiation skills that will work.
No.
So it's basically, many people sometimes ask me, but then I get into the mind, and then I just see the fear, and I can't just seem to step back into the soul. That's just a belief you're creating,
Mm.
because your free will is so powerful that it just takes that one little choice to say to yourself, okay, I choose to allow my soul. I choose to allow my soul in this now moment. And in that moment, you might be really fearful and not feeling that at all, but just making that choice will lead you to collapse on the other side. And then the fear comes at you, but because you are not producing any resistance, so you are not sort of something that's there trying to block it out, you're just transparent basically. You're like a sift. The fear can pass through you, and as it does, because you're in that space of consciousness where you are not identified with the one that felt or created the fear in the first place within you, you're not in that identity. As the fear moves through, so basically you don't need to go to it because it will come to you. Definitely. It wants to have you. So just let it pass through, and it crumbles. It just absolutely disappears. And as you are capable of doing that, then what happens is that the aspect itself that was in that fear, because fear is not an aspect of personality, it's just a tool of separation, just like guilt, just like shame, and other tools, anger, and so on. Anger, well, rage, I would say. Anyway, the aspect then will be able to look at you and see, okay, you're for real. Okay. And just come back home. Because the only thing that these aspects that seem to be so intent on keeping themselves in power, in charge, the only thing they want is you, is you to be authentically that which you've been saying you want. So if you want it, you have to prove it to yourself. But you don't prove it through words, through convincing, through any type of negotiation. You prove it from giving up. Isn't that interesting? You just give up. Give up on what? On needing to resist, on needing to fight against, on needing to prove something, on needing to show something to those aspects. You don't need to. You're already everything, all that aspect that came from you, which it is a part of you. You're everything that you're supposed to be. So give up. Just give up. let the fear come. Let the fear wash over you like a black shower.
Yes.
And then sort of like a black shower. And
Yeah.
then the shower sort of changes color as
Mm,
it goes past you, goes into you, and
mm.
it all changes. And then what happens, just like Alexis was saying, I also had that experience very often of that intensity. That, oh my God, it's like my heart seemed like it was gonna burst over and over again, and my whole body tingling, and what's this? And what I used to do is like, sometimes at the time I was in my job, and it just like sort of all of a sudden used to come in waves, and I'm like, oh gosh, not now, huh? Okay, not now, because I'm gonna have a class in about 10 minutes, and I need to have my stuff
Yes.
together, so just just
Oh.
just bring this down a little bit.
And
No,
did you
bring
and
this down.
did you have to apologize to people? For me, there was a period I had to keep apologizing to people because I would burst out with things. I couldn't stop not
Yeah, I
say
would say
things and
say
say
things
stuff. Yeah.
and laugh out loud, and then everyone's gonna, like, all of a sudden you're like,
There was a period of like 2 years and I had to just keep apologizing. And I was like, okay, another one, apologize again. You know?
but it's not the interesting thing is that the apologizing was not coming from a point of, oh my God, I've done
No,
it
no,
again, or
no.
no, it's just like, okay, yeah, I know that apologizing works in the world, like they will understand what I mean, so let's just apologize and move on so that everyone just forgets about this episode.
I know, and it's like when you go home and you think, oh shit, not again. Okay, tomorrow, not apologizing. But like you said, not because you don't really get into those kind of depressive spaces
No
anymore.
more.
About anything that you do and the funny things and the comical things and the what the fuck moments and whatever kind of
The
things,
really
you
silly
know.
things
Oh my
sometimes.
God, the really and oh my God, really silly things.
Totally not perfect
Yeah,
if you're looking at it from a mind
yeah, yeah,
perspective, but then
yeah,
again, so perfect because you can be anything and it
yeah.
doesn't matter.
And you
Like,
can't really stop yourself from being spontaneous anymore.
that's the point.
That's the point where you're just so joyful and this bubbles out, and it just breaks through all this training of
Yeah.
etiquette and all of this kind of stuff, and you just can't help it. But the thing is that because your energy changes and it's very light, people just are okay
People
with it.
accept you
Yeah,
fine.
yeah. And you find all these ways, like I found ways to explain, for me to be okay to be different. I found ways.
Yeah.
I would say, like, I'm an artist, I'm a photographer. So this then people say, oh yeah, she's an artist. They do this kind of thing and they
They're kind
accept
of
you,
crazy.
or like for sometimes when I burst out, I would just say things like, oh, don't worry, I'm autistic, or I would pretend myself that I can't hear, or that I'm that can't speak and hear. I did all sorts of things to get by, because there is really a time, like years even, when because you
Yeah,
become so
years.
different and you have to still fit into this kind of life. And before, like, this life kind of like unfolds. It unfolds slowly, so it takes time before you can then change your job or let go of that job
Yeah.
that is very constrictive, and find other alternative ways to live. Like, I know some people just walk away, but because they haven't really learned how to feel abundance, how to be master, then they go through
That
this
can bring
really
about
a lot
really
of
hard experiences. Not
hardship.
necessary, not
Not
necessary.
necessary. No, no, because you can do it. You choose how you go. You go with grace and ease, which means that you just span it over a bit longer time. You will get to a place where you work for yourself, where you have free, whatever it is, or you can do it in a
Or
hard
even you can
way.
enjoy your job, and
Yeah.
actually it can happen that that job that you see
Yes.
in that moment as something that you don't
Yes.
like, as you change, you
Yes.
start finding stuff in that job that you'd
Yes.
never seen
Yes.
before,
Yes.
and actually then doors open
Yes,
up,
yes,
new
yeah.
opportunities within that same job happen, and
Oh,
then again
yes.
you realize, oh, okay, so I'm staying here, actually I like it.
Yeah, and the thing is, all of a sudden, that's happened to me a number of times, that the job would actually all of a sudden bring me so much freedom and so many,
Yeah.
because you as you allow the presence of your soul, your presence of your big self, this part to be with you, it changes everything. It doesn't fit itself into any limitations.
Hmm.
It won't fit itself to the rules and obligations, but at the same time it knows the physical
It will
world.
find the way.
Yeah, yeah, in a
And
beautiful
it's always
way.
conciliatory. There's no
Yes, yeah.
conflict. It will not bring
No,
up conflict with anyone.
no, 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 no,
It's
absolutely.
like it's raining those drops that are far apart, and you move
That's
within the
it.
drops,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you always find the way that is gonna be completely
Yes. Yeah.
unobtrusive.
Yeah, so you can do this in this beautiful, graceful way. And but you do eventually come to a place where you do need a lot of freedom, because
Yeah.
those kind of restrictions, you just can't deal with them anymore. And you don't have to, because by the time that, as you keep integrating and integrating, your body, you change wholesomely. Your body changes, your
Everything.
circumstances change, your understanding changes, how you do things change, so that your life, by the time you're much more fully integrated, you need more freedom, and at the same time that your life has transformed to
It
such a
will be
degree.
there.
Exactly, so that you're always in this perfection, in a perfect place, like, so it's but give yourself this peace and ease. Like, don't try to hurry, because this time is only one time that you're going to experience this step from a limited human into the soul filled human. And so it's just this incredible love story. It's incredibly beautiful. Explore it, play with it, dance with it, just go
Hmm.
with what your heart loves. So this is one of the things also that was really big. You probably experienced it too, Tanya, because, like, before, we have all these ideas of what, like that success and what will bring
Hmm.
happiness.
Yeah.
So you have, like, there was one point where it was really apparent. It's like, shit, I have to now choose. Do I go with what the mind is saying is logical? Because what happens is that all of a sudden a lot of opportunities come to you, and
Yeah.
all of them look equal. Even if what the mind is saying, oh, do this because this is logical, this is how you do your life well, it will, if you choose that, it's still okay. But like, I had to really listen. What does the heart say? The heart will say, no, we turn this way. But it didn't sound like a
But it does
logical.
say the
Yeah,
whole story.
it
I
doesn't
mean,
tell you
turn
the
this way
whole.
and that's it.
That's it. But
There.
it doesn't even feel like a logical thing. It
Yeah.
doesn't feel like, through what you know, through what your mind knows of the world, that it's going to be something that is going to be even work for your life, that you'll be
Hmm.
able to pay your bills, that you'll be
Yeah.
able to do all these things. And yet there comes a point, there are lots of these kind of points of separation that you come to so clearly, and you realize, wow, so this is where I'm at now. Mind, heart, and then all of a sudden, you say, wow, I can choose heart. And like Tanya, you said, yes, it's a step by step by step. It is not like a whole plan. It's just a feeling. It's a feeling of how you want to be and how you want to experience things. And then the
Yeah.
heart says this way to experience that. And then that's when you actually walk on trust. You just walk, and you just keep doing things, you keep going that way. And it is incredibly beautiful. And it is incredibly, yes, the fear can sometimes come. But I wanted to sort of add to what you were sort of saying before, like when you said, yes, you have to stay with your fear. This journey really is, and I keep coming with this word, intimacy. So it
Mm.
really is, you become incredibly intimate with every single aspect of your being, of your humanness. And that means the dark and the light. That means your anger, your rage. That means fear. It's not that you don't feel fear, you actually feel it even more because you get to
Yeah.
know it. You get to know its taste, its flavor, how it comes, how it moves. And this is what you become incredibly intimate with everything. It's not that all of a sudden, and this is what the human thought, that when you realize, when you're enlightened, when you're whole with your soul, all these bad uncomfortable things will go away. No, actually you become even more intimate. But like you said this beautifully, between these raindrops, you just then, because you're so intimate with everything, then you have this incredible choice, because nothing actually controls you anymore. Fear doesn't control you. It's not a master of you to push you into some dark corner, to push you away from opportunities. You actually are so intimate that you say, okay, so this is what you're like. I'm not afraid of you anymore. I can feel you, but yeah, I'll just put you here on the side. You're one raindrop here, but I'm actually going to go here with this. You see, so you become this master of your inner world because you're extremely intimate with everything. You feel everything. You know all of these parts of yourself. And within that, then you move and you change and you choose and you feel your potentials. And when you feel this new potential, you have to actually feel it and own it if you're going to manifest it, make it real in a physical. It's not like that it's just this one day. It's not this one
Hmm.
day. It is, you feel it, you embrace it, you invite it.
You unfold into it.
That's right.
Sort of.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So it's a very, very different way of living, but you are very, this is what consciousness means. This is what awareness means, because you bring this awareness to every part, to every aspect, to every part of yourself. And so, yes, that's why you bring them all home, because when they are home, they are then known. They are known to you, the soul. They are all of these, and they become their facets, meaning they're integrated parts. And then you still give them freedom to be who they want to be, to go on the merry way. And this is what God does. It is what the one, in so long ago, when it divided itself into so many parts, it gave freedom to each and every soul being, said, you go out and be God, and not become God, but realize yourself that you are God. This is my gift to you. And then as you realize yourself as God, as a living God, you then give the same freedom to your facets also. They integrate, and then they go on and live their life just like your past lives, your future lives. They're all free to experience. And this is how is God. There are myriads. And that's why when Mikhail says, it says we meaning all of these facets that it gave freedom to, including me, Alex, which is one of those facets. And I too am realizing myself as God. And then I have freedom, and I also have this comfort of my soul, of this whole self, of the I am that I am. It is this incredible way of being that, yes, we can give words to, but it means it is to be experienced, is to be lived, is to be radiated. And when you radiate this kind of fire, this kind of passion of the one who was the first one, the all that is that was, because it's funny to use words when we relate to that part, but you can feel that part also, and it feels ancient, but it is very, all of these parts are incredibly present and available to you to be felt, because they too want to be part of your reality, of this reality. And so it's like a one big party. It's like a one big party. And
Definitely. I also feel it like that. Yeah. And the fact that you're no longer identified with having to be someone specific
Mm.
gives you the freedom to be able to experience so many different ways of expressing, of experiencing, and that really the crux of this is really letting go of the need to be a specific identity, but that happens as you integrate. That happens naturally. It's not something you can force. And that's why on this journey many times we go through these thresholds of, oh my god, I don't know who the fuck I am. And now what? It's sort of like, of course, for me, after a certain threshold, after that is like, I don't care. Like there is no more of that because I'm never attached to an identity. But until that threshold, that bigger one came, there were many thresholds where I was, where this integration happens, like when the big fears, the big transformations go on, and it's like, oh, okay, so who am I now? Now what do I like? Now
Or you
what
say,
is,
or you
it's
say,
like,
oh my God, I'm so weird.
yeah, exactly, precisely. I felt that so often. It's like, okay, but then feeling so at ease, because what happens is when we integrate these big parts that were in the dark side, there's a lot of empty space. And just as long as we don't try to go and fill it up with something, then after a few days, a few weeks, whatever, it just becomes natural, and you realize that what fills it is really more of your essence. And then you become more at ease with that weirdness of not knowing who you are, and then it doesn't matter anymore, because then you've sort of unfolded into kind of a
Mm.
new experience. And one thing I'd like to mention related to what you were saying of, all of a sudden, just there's a lot of, I believe, a lot of misconceptions around money, around financial abundance and being comfortable in your life and so on. And many times on this journey, people feel this thing, oh, okay, so if energy serves me, um, and so I'm supposed to be capable of materializing without even having a job or without working or whatever, because I am the master, and therefore I have to be able to materialize in any kind of circumstances. So I'm just going to drop the job and that's it. But the point is, just like Alexis said just now, if you're not really integrated, if there's still a big part of fear, that what happens is that you go into survival mode immediately. If you take a big jump, a leap that's larger than your capacity in that moment to be firm, to be safe, what happens is that survival mode kicks in, and then it becomes really tough and challenging, and then all of the fears come at once, and it can be pretty tricky, and it can last for a long time until a person can find their bearing. So I mean, it is a way, it's a possibility, but not necessary. But the thing I wanted to add here is that no, it is a misconception that in order to, and then again I'd ask, who are you, what are you trying to prove, and who are you proving it to yourself, to others, that you can materialize your financial abundance um, out of the blue, yeah, without a job or without this or that? Well, yeah, you can. It depends on your life circumstances. I mean, you can run into an inheritance. You can win a prize if you play the game, whatever it is that gives you that prize. So that is a condition in a sense. Or someone can win a prize and give you a part, or whatever. Loads of stuff can happen. The point is, that doesn't prove anything. Uh, the point is, what is it that you're doing in your life right now that brings you joy? And so that is really the key to also providing yourself with financial abundance. So, that thing that you do that brings you joy and that you would do anyway, even if you were a billionaire. So it doesn't matter, it's not about the numbers. That is the thing. That is your perfection. And so you can call it work, or you can just call it enjoyment, or you can call it whatever you want. The point is having a kind of a label on mastery that says that a sovereign master is only worthy of that title, even
Mm.
if you're capable of materializing your financial abundance instantly. Like, boom, you click your fingers and the money is there. Can happen. It happens to me quite often in many occasions, like for different casualties, things in the casual world, like things like I run into a discount which I wasn't expecting, and I didn't even see it, and then at the cashier, so I've saved 20 euros, and I've saved, I don't know, it happens with big amounts, with small amounts. It happens to be given gifts that I'm not expecting. It happens in loads of different ways.
Mm.
But the fact that I also charge for the work I do, which is work and play at the same time, basically, because it's what gives me joy, it's what I enjoy doing, is a very natural thing. It's really like clicking my fingers and the money's there. It is. There's is no effort whatsoever within the way my money comes into my life. So the fact that I work and work well, yeah, in the normal way that people would say that what I do is work, and earn money from that, doesn't mean that I'm not materializing out of the blue. And this is just to say, for anyone who is sort of going around in circles with this issue, drop it. It's useless. It's just a mind game. It's just something that creates separation between you and yourself and your perfection in your life. Allow yourself to be gifted by your soul with that joy, with that love, with that compassion, with that beauty. All of that then produces in physical matter whatever it is that you need. And then you realize, you start valuing what you already have much more, and then not needing what you don't have, and that is abundance as well,
Mm. Mm.
because the scale of necessities just drops. And
Mm.
so because you don't need, you don't feel you need, then you have more. And then you
Mm.
realize also that within what you have, there is even stuff that you'd never noticed you have, but you do, and
Mm.
that serves you too. And that happens to me a lot in my
Mm.
garden.
Mm.
With new fruits and herbs and stuff that I discover are edible.
Mm.
And things like that. Like, let me just give you a silly example. So I've got 5 chickens, and these chickens are really happy because they give me 3 4 eggs per day, so they're really productive. And I like to give them a little nice something every day, like greenery. They've got a big space, but the space where they are, because they of course potter around all day, doesn't have so many of the herbs they like because they've eaten them. Anyway, so I can give them a few leaves of cabbage or so, but I don't have that much cabbage planted in my vegetable garden to be giving the chickens every single day. So I discovered, by letting them loose into the rest of the garden, what they like. So what do? I just pick up the weeds, the stuff that we don't really want to be in the garden, and I give it to them, and they're so happy. And then all of a sudden I've discovered, oh, I don't need any more cabbages because all of the weeds are more than enough. So this is just a silly example,
Yes, yeah, yeah.
but it sort of really reflects the rest of what happens in
Mm.
my life, and I'm sure it happens to you too.
Mm.
And so it's not about how much money you have in the bank or how much money you're making or where it's coming from.
Mm.
it's really just this constant allowing,
Mm,
being open, and being grateful, and just enjoying. Really, that's the
mm,
perfection.
mm. I find very similar to you that the life just becomes very rich. It's just rich in
Yeah.
so many layers, like what that's what I felt when you were describing. And because there are no more judgment as to, oh, this is a good part of my life, that is a bad part. Because like when we come from a mass consciousness, oh, this is important, this is not important, this is valued. Everything has some kind of value or no value, but because now all of it is my energy, is my sacred energy. It's everything is valued, the littlest thing, the biggest thing, like you said, the weed, all of it has its own perfect place. And so
Yeah.
for me too, like I find that oh my gosh, because and I feel myself whole. So there is no more striving to have all these things. I must say, it was funny, I was watching a YouTube video on something, and it's this young guy, and he was showing off his house, and it had all these paraphernalia that he felt was so important, like, I don't know, all these movie posters, like vintage stuff. And I'm thinking,
Mm-hmm.
oh my god, this is so foreign now to me, because these kind of
Yeah.
things that other people value is completely valueless. I took those kind of things to the free to good home place, because they have no more value, like different kind of things value.
Yeah.
And like you too, it's this being creative. It expands your view on things, and things, like you said, come to you in so many different ways, and assist. Like, for example, for me with website, for I used to do it myself because I thought, oh, I like the code, to do
Mm-hmm.
the website. But I also then ran out of time, because then you have to, and because you have to now do your website, I would have to learn how to adjust it to the phone. I would have to adjust it how to how to make it for the big screen, so it all would resize. There's a lot you have to keep learning. So
Yeah.
then I thought, okay, maybe I feel like my work is not giving me enough money, but it feels right to actually go for a paid thing, because it's going to be
Yeah.
much easier. I don't know how it's going to all work out. It's not paying yet, my work, but I'm going to go for it because it felt right. And then before you know it, all of a sudden, from the website that I'm now template, that I get templates is much easier. um
Yeah.
all of a sudden I got a contact. Oh, do you want to be a test subject? Because we like your website, and in return you can get a free 1 year subscription for a website. So it's like, oh yeah, and that was like 45 minutes of work. And then a few months later again, so all of a sudden I have 3-4 years of website subscription of 300 something dollars, that like all of a
Yeah.
sudden. But all it took me is 1 hour of Zoom time, because
Mm-hmm.
and all of these kind of things, that at the last time I did it, I didn't even know what to choose, because it's like, oh, what do you want to choose? Like, I already have all these
Yeah.
subscriptions, you
Here's the
know.
golden platter.
Yeah,
Choose.
it's like, so it's this kind of things that continually happen, like you get all
Yeah.
these gifts. So it's not like, oh wow, I have this money. And then also, like you were saying, with charging, that also has to do, I find that each person, because there are so many self value and self-worth issues that a lot of people who are on this journey have. And it's really important to come into this place where you value yourself, to put something out, create something, and actually charge for it as an energy exchange. So it actually, there are a lot of things that one has to go through to be able
Mm-hmm.
to do that, to say, okay, this is my product. I'm worthy. It's worthy. It's charging, but also it's worth charging, but also for another person, because it doesn't matter whether they have money or don't have money, because this is pointless to think in that way anymore. Because when you are integrating your soul, you have everything. So this game of having money or no money, it's actually pointless, becomes meaningless. And
Yeah.
so if they can generate, they say, okay, I commit to this. like I commit to this program, I go for this program, they commit to that by paying for it. So
Mm-hmm.
when they choose, the money manifests, however, whether someone gifts or whatever, because they have given the commitment to themselves. Yes, this is the program. That's how it worked for me. So this,
Yeah,
I
for me
wanted to
too.
do something. This is the program. And it's not that the teacher is going to do things for you. It's just creating that space, and it's your commitment, and then
Mm-hmm.
allowing, and then because you paid, it actually gives you a different feeling than, oh, it's not worth much because it is a freebie.
Yeah,
There
it's a
are
different
so
commitment.
many. That's right. And so there are so many, um so much wisdom to do with money, and so much wisdom to do with that, and abundance, and like you said, some people, like I use this example of, okay, so you don't know how to swim, you want to learn how to swim, so are you going to do it in an easy way and do a course and do it slowly, or you're just going
Mhm.
to jump into deep
Jump into the
water?
deep end and
Yeah, and go for it, and drink and nearly drown, and some people do drown, like,
yeah,
and
true.
so it is how you can do it anyway, but how you are choosing, it matters. And so there are so many different things to do with that, abundance. And when you jump into that water quickly, what it means is that you haven't actually allowed this awareness of abundance enough yet, so that you can actually generate this abundance on ongoing way. Because once you do take responsibility for yourself, it is that every day you take responsibility. It's not like, okay, one day I'm taking responsibility, so I'm leaving my job behind, and now what now? You haven't learned how to be your own business yet. You see what I mean? So you're giving yourself this hard time, unless,
Yeah,
like you mentioned, you have this big chunk of money and you say, well, I've got, this is wonderful if you create that, because then you have a year or 2 years, whatever, to give yourself experience. But you still, because we're choosing to be physical, you see, we have a physical part. It means that all of the currents of these things must flow through physical ways. It is not that it's just all somewhere in etherics. You have to manifest the abundance. And how do you manifest the abundance? There are physical ways to manifesting it.
yeah,
Whether you have investments, you diversify, all of a sudden you realize, wow, I'm actually interested in this, and then invest here, get some property there, and whatever, like, you just keep diversifying to make yourself this sovereign being. And you keep, and in that way you keep being abundance itself. And so whatever you choose, you're like this, you've got this Midas touch, everything just
yeah.
works
That's
out.
it. So,
And if
so
it,
it.
yeah, and if it doesn't, you're like, oh, how interesting, and you just move on. It doesn't really make any dent, and you know that another opportunity will come, and you become playful. And because you're so alive, you become playful, you keep learning. It doesn't, like, for me, I'm 50 something now, and I didn't think I would be learning about crypto and NFTs, and I do have to learn how the ins and outs work. But I have joy about it, and I do a bit of this, a bit of that. And for some people, when they hit 50, they think, well, I'm retired, I don't have to learn anything anymore. But when you are a soul being, this is the joy, to keep learning, to keep
You are always
expanding.
a
Yeah, to
child
keep,
exploring,
exactly.
but a
But
child with the wisdom of the
wisdom.
sage, of
That's right.
course.
But you have to find these currents through which then this money comes to you, through which abundance comes to you, because you are physical, because you have physical needs. You do have to house your body, you do have to, buy meals and all sorts of things. But it all changes in a very different, in different way. Like, you become this incredible chemist, so all of a sudden your cooking improves, and like you
Yeah,
said, you can explore, and try this out. And I remember I used to go, shopping so much, and I used to go to the market so much. And I don't know what's changed, but like I went yesterday to the market to get flowers, and all I bought was one cucumber, and I used to come out, and yet my fridge is full, and I'm thinking, how
Yeah.
does it fill itself? It somehow just keeps
It's a
filling.
strange thing,
It's
isn't
like the
it?
most amazing thing. It's like I used to
Yeah.
come with big bags of fruit and veggies and things, and I'm like, I can't even fit this poor cucumber. Like it's just
I know,
incredible.
like it's so true what you're saying. It's like it's sort of like a miracle of multiplication, but
But
it's
yeah,
not that it's happening beyond. I don't know how it happens, really,
yes.
honestly, and it's just like you're saying, but it's like there's always more than enough. That's the whole
Yes,
thing.
yeah. And when you realize this incredible abundance, when you think, I am crazy for the choice, I have so much choice. It's like, and
Yeah.
they're all equal choices. It's not like, oh my God, I'm like in that survival when you think you're just gonna die because there's nothing you can do. And that is the reason, because you haven't opened yourself up yet. You haven't learned how to allow. You haven't integrated the soul, you haven't integrated your aspect. And so you come into this new way of being completely unprepared. And
Yeah,
yet,
it's
when
the
you, yeah,
acceptance, really.
yeah,
You haven't let yourself accept everything.
yeah,
As long as you're running away from something, you are not in that deep
yeah, yeah.
acceptance.
And you're not, and for all of that, because we are physical, you do have to give yourself time. and
Yeah.
and 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 it's time is a blessing, because then we slowly, and it's for the joy, because the soul wants to experience each part of how it got from being separated, because your soul is a human, it's not really separated, but it just was a game like that. But it wants to know each part. Oh wow, that insight, how wonderful is that, and then another insight and another insight. It's not in it for wow, we just want to do everything, we want to become a master in 2 seconds, and wow, look, we're the fastest master in the whole world. And it's a completely different kind of view, isn't it? Like
Yeah.
it's a
It's
point,
like,
that would be a pointless thing. But that's how a separated mind would think, isn't it?
yes,
That's
definitely.
exactly.
Yeah, it is true. Yeah, and then again, it's impossible to be done like that. It's just a
Yeah,
journey. It's a journey. It
yeah,
just you don't just click your fingers and all of a sudden you're in profound acceptance. And
yeah,
no, you
yeah.
go and you accept, and then you deal with
Mm-hmm.
non-acceptance, and then you realize, okay, I have to accept even more, and then you allow and you go. It's step by step, really. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then also, there's another thing also, like I remember I was, kind of not a trance. You probably have had the same experience like this, when there was that intense integration for a few
Mm-hmm.
years. And
Tsunami
yeah,
style.
yeah, so every day, and there was this mesmerized feeling of just allowing myself to feel, to all sorts of things happen. And then one day, then I woke up and I realized, wow, I'm now integrated enough. And I realized that there was some kind of a protective bubble around me and around life, because in that innocent integration, when you really, as a human self, you don't know what you're doing, and you just it's like you get all these magical powers and you just throw them, like, like as if a child got this magic wand and you just by accident could destroy everything, or you could just have
Yeah,
an accident or anything. It's like you are in this incredible protective bubble, not only for your safety, but also that you are a little bit separated from mass consciousness,
definitely. Otherwise,
you
you might be
know
blowing up bridges and doing all sorts of
yeah,
stuff.
yeah, and also because so it doesn't interfere. So it's
Yeah,
kind of like you have this separated bubble, and you only know that you had it once it's gone.
yeah,
Because it's like, oh shit, today is really different. What's different? Oh my God, I had this protective bubble. I was completely protected. It doesn't matter what happened. And the thing is also, I wanted to mention before, but I forgot, and now it's come back. Is like when you are like integrating, for example, you're really learning and wisdomizing trust and mistrust, for example, or when you're learning how to really trust yourself, your soul, how to trust its presence, a guidance from the heart, and all of these kind of things. A lot of times something bad does happen. So for
Mm-hmm.
example, something that you think as a human bad, like for example, I would have this incredible time in the bush, and I felt so connected and beautiful in seventh heaven. I sit in the car to drive home, and boom, I hit
Where are
I
my
hit
car
a
keys?
no, I did, but I hit an animal, and dented,
Oh,
and that was the worst, like to hit an animal, because I love animals so much. So it really knocked everything, and I'm thinking, shit, how do I feel safe? How am I ever going to allow myself to go into that carefree, soul-free way when all of a sudden then this happens? So I really then had to then integrate that as well, because I have to be okay with all the bad stuff that I experienced, that as humanity experience, and still be in this trust, in this open, in this heartfelt relationship with soul. And also, like you said, sometimes you do have this aspect that will test you, that will test every resolve you make. They will try to break that, they will try
mm-hmm.
to undermine, they will try, because they want your attention. So a lot of
Yeah.
stuff happens that is very undermining, and you have to somehow walk through that as well, with your trust in your soul, so that you keep opening. And sometimes that means that for a month or for a few weeks you completely close down, and you think, shit, I've had enough of this, I'm walking away, like you said, I should be a master,
Yeah.
this kind of thing shouldn't be happening. And yet it does, for many, many different reasons. And it's also wonderful, and that's that perfection as well, because in while it's all that is happening, that from a human point of view you think it's bad, you become really incredibly clear about yourself. You can then realize, okay, so that's what unintegrated aspect means. That's how it feels to have the rug pulled from under me, because I've still got parts of me that are undermining me. That's what it feels like when I'm still trusting, because you really have to become, not have to, but this is what is happens.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
become again that intimacy with yourself, in
Yeah.
all parts of yourself, in the so-called good, in the so-called bad. And you have to be okay and deal with it, and you have to become extremely clear and knowledgeable and perceptive about the processes that are happening within you, because this is how you are as creator. So we are here to really learn to how we are creators already, but we're learning how it all works. So then you learn, so if I have an unintegrated aspect, it creates with me like that, and then that's what the result is with my physical reality. So that's that real interaction with consciousness and your energy, because you're really then realizing, okay, so that's how I'm creator. And the next time you do it differently, but unless you know these processes and how you work, and like we said before, we are incredibly weird. And this is what the thing that really also, it's a big thing when you're integrating your soul. You realize how alien it is. It's not human. It doesn't feel
Mm-hmm.
human. It becomes more human as it comes into this, it becomes more familiar to your humanness, but it is outside of time, it is outside of space, it's not human at all. It feels very alien, and it has a very different dynamics and laws of physics and how it communicates and it works. So you have to become okay with all of that. And so that's when also you get to realize what that statement I am that I am really means. Because when you feel yourself to be so weird, you realize, wow, it's okay. I am that I am. And that's it. You don't have to put any definition behind that statement. You're okay as you are in that perfection, however you feel yourself. I am that I am, and that is just such an incredible, powerful statement, because then you don't have to explain yourself to anybody but to yourself. And you don't have to ask that crazy question, who am I? Because you can never really adequately describe who you are. You can just experience yourself. And so this I am that I am is that statement where you are, even your humanness is okay with that. Wow, look at how I'm feeling today, what I'm experiencing inside. Yeah, I am that I am. That's enough. So you actually, again, that too becomes reality rather than a theory, a reality statement where you then know what it actually means.
It's interesting because we've come full circle within. We started with the failure concept, and now going along with what you were sharing, which is so, so relevant. The fact that it is essential to be okay with blunders.
Mm.
If there's it's not possible to allow compassion if you remain attached to each what seems to be a blunder. I mean, this shouldn't be happening. Why did this happen? I must be doing something wrong. Oh my God. Now, how can I trust myself? Now, of course, I can feel my soul and all of this, and still, this shit is happening right in front of me. How can it be? I must be doing something wrong. And so, letting go of that, being okay with, yeah, just exactly like you've explained so perfectly. It's happening, be aware of it, take whatever you have to take from that, be with it, know that it is just perfect the way it is, and then use that experience to help you move along with patience, with care. Something I repeat over and over again: be gentle with yourself, be gentle. There's no rush, don't push, and above all, don't go into this, oh my God, I must be doing something wrong. I mean, oh, did I really feel my soul? Because if I was feeling my soul, then why did this thing happen? And that is just undermining, it's self sabotage. It will really just keep the whole game going on. So being in that perfect space of acceptance, okay, this is it. This is my experience right now. It will bring you whatever it has to bring you, if you allow it to help you move on. No attachment is essential, which is basically acceptance. Acceptance of what is, which is I am that I am. And so for me, I feel this is just full circle. The whole thing. We've come through the whole theme and come exactly to where we started.
And if anybody would like to ask some questions, now is the time. We've got someone saying, "Hello, dear beautiful masters. I like your laughter. This is surely a perfection. Thank you both for this precious gift, and thank you, dear
Thank
master. Thank
you
you."
very much.
And yes, so it does come. It goes out, doesn't it? Like our theme
This
goes
is a,
out,
this is
and then
such
it
an
comes back.
example of the journey. It's exactly like that.
Yeah.
It You go out, it unfolds, and then boom, comes full circle. And
Mm.
this happens over and over again. Of course, after you're integrated, it's not that all of these things will be sort of going, like there's not so many bombs, on your way, like not so many
Yes.
mines on the
Yes.
land.
Yes.
But still, if something sort of blows up in your face, it happens. um, you just stay with the grace of that. You realize, sooner or later, you do realize the perfection in that. Because even if it seems that that should not be happening, many times then you realize, oh, wow, it's so perfect that it happened like that. Fortunately, I don't get to choose from my mind what is supposed to be happening, and I can trust 100% of the time. You say that to yourself. Say,
Mm,
fortunately, I can't control it, because
mm.
otherwise it wouldn't happen, because I would have a judgment around it.
Mm. Me
So
too. Me too. I felt that,
that's it.
and still feel that, because very often I realize, wow, it's so good that something happened a few years ago, because it prepared me to
Yeah,
now be able to do this. It, like everything that you find, everything that I've
everything.
experienced, that I felt, that I had emotion about, everything is actually known. It comes home, and everything
Yes.
is somehow wisdomized, and everything is utilized. There isn't any part that,
There's no waste.
yeah, there's no waste at all. Absolutely no waste, not even in the tiniest of emotion or the tiniest of event that ever happened, even when I was little, or in any of my age. And this is incredible, because the incredible experience of being part of the soul, I
Yeah.
call it being part of the soul, because all part, everything is sacred. There is no mundane. And yet at the same time, like those
It's
zen
normal and
masters,
natural.
yeah, and the
Yeah.
zen masters are saying, what do you do after realization? Well, before you chop the wood and after you chop wood also. And it's
Yeah.
that simplicity, because
Precisely.
yeah, and the more the life is simple, and because you don't have to prove anything, like you said, to anybody, and you don't have to justify, you just go out of all these justifications. Like, and you often, you meet people that perhaps, even online, they still use all that manipulation or undermining or trying to push your trigger, and you just let them be, because you realize, wow, I want my freedom, and I wanted to
That's the whole the
experience
that's my
everything.
choice, and you
That's
stay in
right.
that.
You stay in that, and at the same time, then you're able to just let everyone just be in their experience,
Yeah.
until they come and ask you for your assistance, because maybe they find something that resonates. You can let them just be, and experience what they experience, play game or enlighten or whatever. It's none
Yeah.
of your business, and
There
that is
needs
such a
be no
huge.
conflict.
That's right, and it's such a huge relief, and it is also such incredible freedom, don't you find, to
I
be able.
find the fact that you're no longer attached to that sense that you have to be something, or like someone like this or
Mm,
like that, and the fact that you don't feel that, makes whatever anyone else thinks such
irrelevant.
also something such irrelevant thing, that you respect it. I mean, you okay, but you have nothing to say. I really, if anything like that happens, I have nothing to say really, because
Yeah.
there's nothing to say. It's
Yeah.
okay. It's
It's okay
it's
for them to have your opinion.
yeah,
It's
it's okay.
okay for them to not like you. It's okay for
Yeah,
them to feel whatever, to be pissed off with you, whatever, because it's their experience,
yeah,
And
yeah,
before that, like in this mind way, we're so enmeshed and we're so connected in not healthy way, in a toxic way, that we keep trying to change someone's opinion, and
about
keep,
us.
yeah, about us, about everything. And that is just
Yeah.
such a burden. And that's what recently, in the last 2 weeks, actually, I've been really feeling, and into this something being a burden, because all of these things were just a huge burden, weren't they? That's what they.
They were such an effort. Gosh.
Exactly. All right. So we've got another question. Oh, we've got two more questions. Did you want to go for it? Did you want to go for it?
Okay, so thank you very much to both for this most beautiful
Oh,
section. Thank you very, very much. And hello, dear Alexis and Tanya. Thank you so much for this duo you were playing. I have recognized so many instruments where you were talking, and I heard the music of Prokofiev, Peter and the Wolf, Tra La La, Experience. So beautiful. I relate. Love you both, Doris. Thank you very much, Doris. Thank
thank you.
you.
And I think, like you said, we're complete for
Yeah,
today.
we are. We are. I'm very, very sort of like that sense of it's sort of full circle.
Also.
It's so nice when we feel this thing, and it happens so often. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah,
And so
done.
for anyone, please join us next week. And until next time, until
Yeah.
then, see you.
Thank you
Thank
so very, very much to everyone who's been here playing with us and laughing with us. And oh gosh, it's so, so wonderful to have all of you here with us. And of course, you, Alexis, thank you very much as well, as always. And oh wow, this just keeps on growing, and I feel it growing.
indeed. And thank you. Bye
Thank
until
you.
next time.